Oh, well, it just happened right now. The presidents of Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Mexico formed the Alliance of the Pacific. And they just made a joint announcement towards climate change, where they commit as a partnership, as an alliance, to work together towards mitigation and adaptation measures, to put pressure on governments around the globe, their own partners, to be more aggressive on agreements and make sure that there is some kind of legal binding towards some of these agreements, so that in Paris we really commit as a global alliance towards the protection of the future generations. This is something that they stressed a lot. Even though we have different situations in our countries, we share vulnerability very much in the Pacific Rim. So we understand the importance of climate change mitigation and adaptation actions. And President of Mexico announced some important donations towards the Green Fund and GEF as well. So I guess it was a pretty sound meeting, and I believe that we need more of these kinds of alliances from other countries, whether grouped in small parties or alliances, or members of large organizations, to all push toward the same. Probably the axis of this was sustainability from territorial aspects, from cities and communities around the countries in the world.
Why do you think it is that a country like Mexico in recent years seems to have become more interested in investing in greener solutions? Is it simply because cities are getting polluted and people are unhappy about that, or are there other more sort of macroeconomic reasons why a country like Mexico sees its future as investing more in sort of cheaper, more efficient technologies?
Well, we do have very inefficient cities, and there is awareness nationwide of the climate change problems. And we are also such a vulnerable country that we had, for example, last year, these Ingrid and Manuel hurricanes, one from the Pacific and one from the Atlantic, joined together at the same time on the 16th of September, causing tremendous damage in Acapulco and other cities in the country. And so we suffer from climate change a lot. And we are, the people in Mexico are quite aware of the importance of protecting the environment. We are a mega diverse country. One of the largest bioreserves is in the southeast of Mexico, in Chiapas. So we are very keen on protecting the environment and on working towards green solutions, both in rural areas and in cities, definitely. We also have a lot of researchers on those fields, working and studying in Mexico and abroad. The Nobel Prize, Dr. Mario Molina, who got in '95 the Nobel Prize for chemistry, worked on air pollutants, and he's quite respected in Mexico. And we have seen how many times sustainable solutions are not only necessary, but they are cost-effective, and they actually project markets and technology adaptation. And we have seen how many of the solutions that we are trying to implement in the end become also with revenues or with co-benefits in the economic and social areas.
Give me an idea in the context of Mexico then, how you are trying to make, how you would try and make a small neighborhood or buildings either more climate resilient or more sort of with lower emissions, because I guess public transport's one issue. I've been to Mexico City, and the metro only goes out so far, and after that you have to get a small bus or you drive. But how are you working on this in Mexico?
Well, we are partnering with multilateral organizations and other governments And we have looked at the NAMAs as a very good solution. I have to say that in Mexico we are NAMA pioneers and NAMA crazy in terms of the number of national appropriated mitigation actions that we are implementing or developing. And in the urban side and housing side, we are working on 4 NAMAs. New homes, existing homes, urban NAMA, and public transport, sustainable public transport NAMA. And I have to say that when we started to develop NAMAs, there was no real trajectory for them to implement. And that was an advantage because then we had the opportunity to actually propose how a NAMA should work, which is why the first NAMA to got finance support from the NAMA Facility Fund was the Mexican Housing NAMA. And we believe that when we put together a number of actions cross-sectorial into a small project, then we can repeat that in many areas and convince and engage the private sector and the subnational governments that implementing these sort of projects with the technical support and even some finance from multilateral agencies or other countries is going to be definitely very good for the people that are direct beneficiaries, but as well for those subnational governments and for that for those from the private sector who engage in implementing them.
Okay, and final question, in terms of the kind of public awareness, I guess Mexico, as we know, having looked, and anyone who looks at the newspapers at the moment sees Mexico has a lot of issues at the moment. What is the level of sort of public desire to see real movement here in a country which has so many other kind of developmental sort of issues bubbling away?
Well, I have to say it's on the top of the agenda. Only yesterday, these same presidents were in Mexico, and now they are here, and President Peña came. That shows us how important for Mexico this issue is, and the people awareness of the subject is even higher. So we even see or have seen that many of climate actions have co-benefits or even an effect on adaptation, which is why we even talked or discussed in some of the side events that we participated from the urban sector that the NAMAs should have an additional A, national appropriated mitigation and adaptation actions, because I have not seen any NAMA that has not an impact direct that can be measured on adaptation issues. So there is a lot of public awareness. The media in Mexico is, they cover all areas, and this is on the top of the agenda.